across the nation.
Raging Review.
The Raging Cajuns will be a source of pride for this university, for the alumni, fans, and donors as we achieve success in the classroom, in the competitive arena, and in the community.
It's about to get really fun.
We're looking for dudes that will stand up. Well, Coach, let me tell you today, I'm here and I'm ready to stand up. And I challenge you, Raging Cajun Nation, to stand up with us. Stand up with us. Let's lock hand in hand and let's walk through the gates of Omaha.
Hey, I love y'all boys. Let's grind every day starting today. Let's do it. Y'all ready? Alert! Ready? Who's that team ready? Who's that team ready? That's up.
I got one thing to say right here. Cajuns win!
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Raging Review podcast. After a long, exhausting week of postseason baseball, we're here to bring you the post-game reaction to the Cajuns' loss 6-2 to the Southern Miss Golden Eagles in the championship game. So many things to say. We'll let you guys spout off, and I see a whole lot of people already in the Twitter space, so want to say welcome to all of our fans, our buzzardry friends. Thanks for joining. It's been fun. The rivalry has continued to deliver, which is always good. That's what collegiate baseball and collegiate sports is all about. So tip of the cap to Southern Miss to start the show. Nick, they were the better team today. I thought Storm delivered a very, very impressive, what was that, I think he went maybe 5 solid, 4 2/3, something like that. He Blake Marshalled the Cajun offense today. And look, there's not a whole lot to say. I mean, the game was pretty straightforward. I thought Southern Miss was the better baseball team today. Not really much you can say about that. Didn't love the bat flip towards the dugout, and we'll get into that a little bit. Dustin Dickerson had a good tournament. He is going to be a really good player for Southern Miss for a long time to come. Freshman. They were talking on the broadcast that he was like all Mississippi first team, had all these different honors. The ball he hit was nuked. Not really much you can say about the shot. Still, let's try to have a little bit of decorum here on the field. Still, great final, well-played ball game. I think the Cajuns ran out of gas down the stretch. And then we can get into so many different avenues on that. So your thoughts on the game and anything you have to say.
Yeah, I mean, I saw what you saw. I saw a team that was, I think it's a different ball game if we have one more win. We're not fighting our way out of the losers bracket. You know, I think that's a whole different game changer right there. Southern Miss obviously had more pitching, so even if Storm didn't get it done, I mean, they had a whole host of guys that they could bring against us. Look, credit to them, man, and credit to their fans for showing up. I mean, half the distance closer for them, but they showed up to the tournament, which was fantastic. Because we need people to show up at our conference tournament. We'll talk about the location later, about what I heard transpired overnight next to our team hotel. That wasn't great. But back to the game. Look, man, they did what they had to do to win. They showed that again this season they had our number. I mean, you just got to tip your hat at that point and say, hey, you got us. Their fan support is crazy. I, like you, can do without the antics. I think that's a little Bush League, and we're not Conference USA, you know. I think we're a little bit level above that, and you start flipping bats to the wrong team, you get punched in the gut after that. But regardless, congratulations to them on the win. I think and hope that they make some noise. I'm going to grind my teeth when I say this. I hope Coastal makes some noise. And look, whether or not we get in, we did it to ourselves. Whatever the result is, whether we get in or we don't, it's all on us. But I think when you look at, and I think the rumor was it's between us and Oklahoma, when you look at the end of season, and I know baseball traditionally looks at what you did, not only RPI wise and strength of schedule and all that, but when you look at what you did at the end of the season and how you got through the postseason tournament, when you look at what we've done and our resume versus Oklahoma, if it's between us, I mean, it's a no-brainer. You're picking us over Oklahoma. But again, you never want to leave it in the hands of guys who make decisions based on money, based on location, based on, well, the regional's closer to Oklahoma, so we'll put him in. You never want to leave that to chance, especially when you get stolen bids from Tulane of all people, which is
insane.
Insane. Like, who does that, right?
18-win team is going to go to the regionals.
That's crazy to me. But regardless, congratulations to them. They did what they had to do to get in, right? And I'm hoping that the committee sees that we did what we had to do at the end of the season, because it wasn't pretty all the way. But I feel like we've got enough wins. I mean, you think of the fact that we not only eliminated a team from postseason, which is Texas State, by beating them 5 times in a row, we eliminated a top 10 team from the tournament by beating them twice in one day. That's got to count for something. So hopefully they have some sense. But again, you never want to leave it in the hands of people making decisions. You want it to be a sure thing. And so congratulations to USM. I guess that's all I have to say.
Yeah, and I would lobby the NCAA committee. We lost probably 2 of our top 3 pitchers. We had Debo out for 15 games, who has not only been our most steady player, but he elevated his play throughout the postseason. I mean, that guy was white hot. I think he had, 9 hits and 17 at-bats. Was just a catalyst for this offense against the number 7 team in the country, which, let me tell you, man, aside from the Blake Marshall performance yesterday, C.J. Willis put the dagger in him with the 2-run job in I think it was the 8th, maybe 7th or 8th. The game was over at that point, but Debo was such a catalyst on so many different opportunities to score and putting pressure on the opposing pitcher. Kyle DeBarge, you lose him for 15 games, and look, JT filled in beautifully. There's not much you can say about that, but losing his bat in the lineup really changed things for probably close to a quarter, if not a third of the season. If you take the 15 games he didn't play and then you add in the 3 or 4 that it took him to get back up to speed, you're talking about a quarter of the season, maybe a third. So I would hope that the NCAA recognizes that. Of course, I don't expect that because we're a smaller school. Oklahoma's a brand. I get it. I know where we're at. But to bring it back to today, and again, there's a lot of USM fans in here, and I'm thankful that you guys would come in and hang out with us, because it's been a fun rivalry, frenemy, whatever you want to call it. I just want to say this, guys. Keep in mind, our account is run by 3 different people. We're all emotionally driven in different aspects. We don't like certain things. We do appreciate certain things. We drink during the games. We're going to say things to get the rivalry stoked. So don't take it personally. At the end of the day, we have a ton of respect for Southern Miss, their baseball program, but their program as a whole. At the same time, we got to poke the bear. We got to make it fun. That's what gets everybody involved. That's what makes the stakes seem much more high than they are. At the end of the day, it's a bunch of kids playing a kid's game. So just by all means, I really believe that for the most part, it's been pretty fun. I think we've kept it mostly clean and mostly on surface level jabbing, and it's been good. And I appreciate the Southern Miss fans coming back to support our softball team, or when the Cajuns are playing somebody else. We talked about this in the last episode, pulling for the conference mates. I think it's a little bit different with the Cajuns and the Eagles, because obviously we want them to go win their regional. We want Coastal, like you said, as much as we hate those bastards, I want them to go win their regional. It's just, isn't it interesting in how, they've been in the league, I guess 2 years now, or is this the first full year? This is the first full year, right? In baseball. Yeah. So isn't it interesting that it came out to be Eagles and Cajuns again? It almost is like, look, this is our league. And I know Coastal is what they are, but Coastal's from the East. The West side of things knows how to play baseball too. And this was a well-played final. It was a well-played tournament from the Eagles standpoint. Even the game they lost to App State on Saturday morning, well-played game. App State, again, this is going to go off on a tangent, but App State was really impressive in this tournament. They bounced back after a really brutal loss in their first game, and they made noise. I got a lot of respect for what App State did in this tournament. But Southern Miss really was just consistent across the board. That you had the depth of pitching, like you mentioned early. The lineup just got big hits and big moments. DJ Lynch continued to be himself against the Cajuns, and then he had a couple other big hits and big games in the tournament. So it's just interesting that it turned out to be the Cajuns and the Eagles again. It seems like every sport, here we are. We have a big Sun Belt Conference tournament or a big Sun Belt Conference game, and it's always against Southern Miss. It's just it's funny how the rivalry is what it is and it's becoming what it's becoming, but it also all the games that matter, it seems like it's in Hattiesburg or it's in Lafayette. It's pretty interesting.
I don't think that's going to change, though. I mean, I think you've got two programs in the West that are dedicated, and I say dedicated. I'm not talking about dedicated in branding because we can go on a tangent on that, but I'm talking about dedicated to success of the athletic department and giving our athletes what they need to succeed and putting money into winning. I think number one and number two, and that's going to flip back and forth as seasons progress. So I'm not shocked. Again, I can do away with the silly little bat flips and the this and the that and the taking the picture after a home run and all that. Like, again, if you did that in the Conference USA, that's cool. But Conference USA you're seeing what it's going to turn into after July 4th or July 1st. We're not Conference USA. Like, have a little bit of class in our league. I'm just saying that. I'm trying to poke the bear here, Josh, to get some reactions.
Poke him. Look, I'm with you. In all seriousness, I'm with you. I mean, look, have some decorum. I mean, these are top flight baseball programs.
I love CJ, but when CJ did his little back flip the other line, I'm like, dude, round the bases. Don't do that. We don't need that because that's not who we are. We don't showboat. We don't try to show for lack of a better term, show our ass. We're just trying to go out there, win, be a good program, be a solid program, and respect not only yourselves, but also the opponent.
The game. Respect
you don't feel like you get that from them all the time at all. But again, that's just a me thing from being in the Sun Belt and how we tend to present ourselves. But again, no, not taking anything away from the win that they deserve this conference tournament win. I'm just saying I could do away with that as a fan.
Yeah, get out of here with that. I don't like it. And look, Nick and I are old school robe disciples. There's a way to do it. There's a way to present yourself. This is our own opinion on baseball. I get the whole make baseball fun again crowd. I understand it. I just don't. I expect more from the Eagles. Like, go back to the whole Dirk thing. That was the reason why we don't like Danny Lynch is not because he hits the ball out of the park or because he gets a bloop double today and oh my God, Danny Lynch is hitting the ball all over the ballpark all over again. It's not that. It was the whole. The bat flip in Hattiesburg a couple years ago.
For no reason. That's
for no reason.
There was no reason behind it, but we're going to flip the bat and act like it. Yeah. It was like the guy couldn't hit the side of a barn.
Now at the same time, it makes the rivalry great. It makes it great. It makes you hate one another. Like, obviously it's sports hate. So, but it makes it fun. It makes, I've told this to, I think I said it on the episode last week, that Dirk DJ Lynch exchange, that was one of the greatest, most electric college baseball atmospheres I've ever been in. It was awesome. Now I was mad, obviously. Nobody's going to like, getting shown up like that. And Pete Taylor Park it's a great venue for baseball, and those fans really care just the way we do. So all of it, I mean, it's all part of the soup and the gumbo that makes it so much fun.
I'm going to take the other side of it.
Miss.
But I'm going to take the other side of it. Okay? When they pimp, fight back.
You got
to. And it's like we don't. We did. We flipped that lead after he did that stupid thing today. But again, like, fight back. If you fight back, then I'm okay with it. But if you just lay down and let them do the stupid shenanigans on the side, that's just annoying.
And that's one of the complaints about the performance today. Now you got to give him credit because Hood comes up with a big 2 out. Well, it was 1 out, I think, at the time. Knock with the bases loaded, and then Degg sends. Well, we'll get into that later. We'll go down the box score, but you got to give him credit for coming back and Hood getting the big hit. We get the bases loaded off of a Mazza who actually to that point was cruising pretty good. He was keeping the ball out of the zone. We were swinging at pitches. He had swing and miss stuff for 3 innings, and we looked lost. And this team is going to strike out from time to time. I mean, look, I think we scored 12 runs against Texas State and punched out 17 times. So we're going to strike out. It's an all or nothing type offense sometimes. But to that point, it was nip and tuck. Here we go. And then Dickerson hits the home run, which was an absolute job. I mean, what are you going to say? I laughed when he hit the ball. It was crushed. He probably hit it 450. But I also said solo home runs are not going to beat us today. Solo home runs did not beat us today. I was, excited is probably not the right word, but I was encouraged by the fight after that. Heath Hood has not had a great tournament, but he had a big hit there. That was a big moment. The game, and I will say this until I'm dead, the game is totally different if we don't send Julian Brock on the base hit after that. The game, you're looking at bases loaded. It's 2-1. You're looking at bases loaded, 1 out, with one of your hottest hitters to that point, C.J. Willis, in the tournament. Look, I understand that Deggs wants to do offense a certain way, and
But bro,
I've been hollering about it for 3 weeks.
It was a single to shallow left. Like, what are you doing?
Brock runs like a refrigerator. I love him. He's my favorite guy. He's one of my favorite Cajuns of all time. He runs like a refrigerator. He wasn't even to third base when the ball hit the ground, dude. What are you doing? I was irate. Anyway, I think that changed the entire complexion of that game. I think that Southern Miss actually made out okay in that inning because of what happened. And you had so many opportunities to do more with that inning. And look, we've done this so many times on post games where we say, how the hell are we sending this? It's reckless base running. I thought that was just a huge gaffe in the game, and I thought it changed the game.
Yeah, it definitely took momentum away from us. I mean,
there you go.
Dude, like, I will never get that decision. And I will guarantee you, Deggs probably in the post game, I didn't listen. Or if we asked him the question, but we're not allowed to interview coaches. But if we asked him the question and we said, "Hey, do you regret sending him from third?" And he would probably say yes. He probably would admit he made the wrong decision there. I get that we're aggressive, but we have to be smart aggressive. That wasn't smart. That was not smart. So I agree with you. I think that I don't know if it changed the entire complexity of the game, but I do think it took momentum away from us at the moment where you felt like you were starting to get a little bit of momentum and you were maybe gonna make it a big inning, and it turned out to not be a big inning because silly base running decisions. Now again, the next batter came up and hit it straight to the first baseman. He stepped on the bag. That could have been a double play. But again, you're in a totally different situation. You're a totally different hitting.
Your approach is totally different.
Your approach is totally different. Exactly. So you don't know if that's going to happen, but at least give a guy a chance with bases loaded rather than first and third with 2 outs at that point.
Yes. And nobody knows what would have happened. You can't project, and I understand all of those things. I'm just telling you, if you are able to go up 3-1 there, you probably ride Fluno a few more pitches. You may be able to ride Stephen Cash a few more pitches, which, by the way, I thought they yanked him way too early. I don't know if he hurt himself. I don't know what was going on, but he was locating. He was getting pop-ups. I don't understand the decision there. I also don't understand the decision to pull oh, hell, I'm forgetting right now. Who came in after Stephen Cash?
Wasn't it Moody? Pitcher? Didn't Moody come in after?
I think he faced 2 batters. Yeah.
Well, Moody didn't do too great when he came in. So if it was Moody, I'm not questioning their decision to pull him.
The thing on Moody, and I know you don't love Moody, the thing on Moody is I
do love Moody. I'm just saying lately it's hit or miss. He has the
second lowest whip on the entire team.
I know. And that's what I'm saying. I'm not hating on Moody. I'm just saying in recent, you look at the entire body of work recently, when Moody's come in, it's not been a great situation. So I held my breath a little bit when they brought him in. He faced 2 batters. They had to pull him because he gave up the lead. I think we were up 2-1, and then he gave up to a 3-2 lead at that point. So,
and he got tagged a few times, and I get it.
Look, if we get into a regional, I will not question them putting Moody in because I know he can be a shutdown pitcher. Like you said, lowest whip on the team. But at that point in time, you feel like Cash had a little more in him.
I thought so too.
And we pulled him. So I don't know. Again, there may have been more to it that we don't know, but just at surface level, I was questioning it as well.
Yeah. Hey, by the way, I want to encourage everybody that's in the space. If you have a comment, we do the post games for you guys. So if we're wrong on something, if we're forgetting something, if you disagree, by all means, chime in. We'll get you on the show. I just thought so. It was easily a punch and punch back game into the 4th. Danny ties it with the bomb, which we're still pitching the dad bomb.
Solo bomb. By the way.
Solo bomb. And look, again, solo bombs are not going to beat you. We got beat later in the game where we kind of let it spin out of control, but momentum-wise, when he hits the home run, you felt like you had kind of pinned him down a little bit. It's 2-1 there, Cajuns. It can't be Danny Lynch, right? It's got to be somebody else. And we talked about this off the air. We were talking about it privately. What are you pitching to him for? If he's the Cajun killer and we all kind of We've accepted that by now. He's the Cajun killer. What are you doing? Like, pitch around.
Serve one right up, man. Let's just serve it up to him.
Belt high inside
Sounds
his favorite
like a
pitch.
great idea. Great approach. We'll serve him right up to him.
I don't understand it, dude. Like, I don't understand the approach. I know is Deggs like, this kid's hitting 254. Throw it down the middle. See what he can do. I mean, honestly, is that the approach? You almost feel like Deggs is like, I'm not going to let this one dude beat me. But he hits the ball, 380 into that little short porch back there after he humped the air a few times. I mean, well, like, what are you doing, man? This is the championship game. Swallow your pride a little bit. What are we doing? And maybe it was a miss. Now, I noticed that Julian was kind of set up a little bit further to the outside. Maybe it was a miss, okay? You can't miss there. Miss 15 feet left. Miss 15 feet right. You don't miss right there. And he was waiting on it. You know what I mean?
I'm not going to put this one on Deggs. I'm going to put this one on with a miss pitch. And the guy
it had to be, right?
Yeah. Because like you said, he set up he was, I think it was outside, right? Wasn't he set up on the outside of the box?
He was set outside. Yeah.
So
as soon as his glove turned and picked up, I said, okay, it's an outside cutter.
Yeah.
He threw it right down the freaking middle.
So I think the pitch might have been called right, but I think it was just miss. I mean, that happens. But you have a batter who capitalizes on that and then for some reason has some weird obsession with beating us. So I don't know.
I mean, at this point,
crazy.
I can't say anything about him. He has literally.
I can say a lot about him, but I'm not.
Look, I'm not. Southern Miss is what they are. They're a very good baseball team. They're coached well. They're a solid ball club with good pitching. This guy scares absolutely nobody. But when he plays us, he's Barry Bonds. What are we doing here?
Well, and not even when he plays us. I mean, you go 2 games and he's hitless, and then all of a sudden he hits 2 freaking grannies.
2 bombs last weekend.
Yeah, and I think that's my concern going back to whether or not we host. Host. No, we're not talking about that. Whether or not we get in,
make it. Yeah.
I think my concern is were we 1 game short? Were we that one play at Coastal from them making a catch, in right field from being out of the tournament? Were we, a pitch away against Southern Miss from making the tournament from 1 win? And so I'm not gonna be. Look, I will be super nervous tomorrow. I will be watching the selection show at noon, but I still have a sneaky suspicion we're getting in by the skin of our teeth. But let me tell you, if we get in, I don't know if we go to TSAB, do they really want us in the regional?
They don't want to see us.
I mean, we got people already in my mentions since 7:30 this morning for some odd reason. And by the way, still in my mentions because we lost, because they're cheering the fact that we lost. And by the way,
cheering for Southern Miss
the way, tweeting stuff about us and how we're trashing this. And then when I respond, then they're the victim. Well, how dare you? Why are you obsessed with this? Well, you started it, bro. Whatever. Anyway, if you go deep into their psyche, I know for a fact they don't want to face us because who truly, and look, I have friends who are TSAP fans, and we talked about this. We talked about this last night. I talked with 3 of them last night over the phone. Who do they have after Skeens?
1-man band. That's why they got mad at me today.
And I'm not trying to disrespect them, dude. Look, they did great things towards the beginning, middle, end-ish of the season. But right now, they're not a scary team. If they're a national seed, I guarantee you there are other teams hoping and wishing they're in that regional because they're not scaring anybody right now based on, again, the most recent body of work. If you look at the most recent body of work, they're not terrifying you. Now, you bring it to Alex Box Stadium, whole different story. But again, if we happen to make it, which I'm hoping by the skin of our teeth we do, and we're in that regional tournament, I'm not terrified.
No, and the other thing is that Tommy White is not healthy. Dylan Cruz's batting average has dropped 100 points in about 4 weeks. There's a whole lot of stuff going on over there. I'm not 100% sure what it is, but this is not the team that everybody said was the greatest team ever assembled. I mean, look, if you look at the projections, it was Nichols, us, Maryland, and TSAB. And I tweeted out that they're 0-2. They're winless against this regional projection, which is hilarious in and of itself. But look, let's wrap up the championship game, okay? Outside of the hoodie single up the middle with the bases loaded, the Cajuns had absolutely no answer for Justin Storm. Hats off to him. What a performance. I mean, honestly, in that moment, that's good stuff. And he was he wasn't fresh. I mean, they used him a few times in this tournament. So he stepped up and delivered in a crucial moment. Of course, we mentioned that DJ Lynch hit the home run to tie it. And then Dickerson singles up the middle to score Etzel. Wilkes hits the 2-run homer to really, I mean, for me, that was probably the end of the game. And then in the 8th, Mr. Johnson hits the double to left center. When we had 2 outs, we thought we were going to get out of the inning and have a 3-run lead to overcome. Johnson, for me, look, 4-run lead and 3-run leads, it may as well be a 2-run lead versus the 8-run lead. And then if you think about it, if that hit didn't take place, we had 2 on with the tying run at the plate without it. So it ended up being a pretty crucial moment in that game. Southern Miss was better today. I mean, it is what it is. Sometimes you just have to say, yeah, you were better today. And what I would love to talk about for a moment is Coastal and Blake Marshall and the fight that we showed on Big Saturday. I want to say this, and anybody can chime in. Again, we welcome anybody to say what they have to say by requesting in the Twitter space. But Blake Marshall delivered a Zach Osborne-esque performance, a Schultz level performance from last year. I mean, the way that he mowed guys down was gross. That was legendary. That was all time. And I know people use those words, but if you look at the numbers and you understand that Blake Marshall has been often injured in his career at UL and wasn't a starter and wasn't even a go-to bullpen guy. He had high highs this season and low lows this season. For him to come in there and just have the bulldog attitude that he had against one of the nation's best offenses. We're not talking about their pitching. We're not talking about the fact that they were down their number 1 and number 2 pitchers. We're talking about a guy that went and dominated one of the best offenses in the country. And he did it in 2 games. He threw 147 pitches. That's all-time stuff to me, Nick.
Dude, I wish I could share the story I have to share, but I was told something that I can't. I was like, keep it to yourself. I will, but I will just say, if you understood what Blake Marshall was going against during that game, like, dude wasn't 100%. But of course, you hold that close to your vest. You don't. But dude wasn't 100%. He had some things going on, and for him to come in and dominate, and by the way, twice in one day. I mean, you can't write a script for that. You could, but nobody would believe it. But Marshall, look, again, I go back to Robes. I want dudes with throwdown. Blake had throwdown. He had throwdown at the times we needed it most. And that dude got us to the championship game by himself in 2 games. We're not going to take away from the fact that he pitched game 1 against Coastal.
Absolutely.
2 games, that dude came out, had throwdown, and got us to the championship. So tip my cap to you, dude. You got us there, and you gave us a chance. You gave us a chance to be an at-large bid in a regional tournament. And I'm excited if we make it to see what Blake does. Because if Blake could do that when he's not feeling 100% that day, let's see what he does when he is feeling 100%.
Well, let's go back to game 1. We're down. We look lethargic. We talked about body language, and we just, for the life of us, couldn't figure out, like, you're fighting for your life. Are you guys tired? I mean, what's going on? And enter Blake Marshall. We're still in a game that we can come back and win. Marshall comes in here and dominates the opponent. And not only does he dominate the opponent, he does it with an attitude. Give me the ball. He looked like Bo Bonds. Give me the ball. Give me the ball. Let's do this again. And he just kept throwing. And he wasn't scared. He wasn't trying to paint corners. He was looking at the hitter and saying, I'm coming after you. Try to hit it. And we haven't seen that in a long time, man. It was good to see it. It was a throwback Cajun pitcher. And he couldn't wait to get the ball back in his glove because he wanted to throw the next pitch. I can't tell you, maybe Schultz against Texas State that one day in the tournament last year. There haven't been many. And to see him dominate game 1, and then when Matt Dex goes back to him in game 2, I'm thinking, all right, maybe we get 2 innings out of him. He's already thrown I think in the first game he threw 50 pitches or something, or 40 some odd pitches. Deggs goes back to him in game 2, and he just keeps coming out, and he keeps coming out, and he keeps coming out, and he's just throwing there. He's emptying the tank. And in the back of my mind, I remembered this guy. He might not pitch again next year. He's been injured. He's everything you can possibly imagine behind the scenes. He's dealt with multiple injuries, back-to-back seasons. Sat out more times than he's actually been on the mound since he's been a Raging Cajun. Guy from Mandeville, guy with a great family, guy that loves being here. To see him come out and perform like that and get the national attention and get the local love that he deserves. I mean, how long have we been talking about Blake Marshall? 3 years? I've been saying, power lefty with a slider. Just wait until he's healthy. Well, I think we saw it on Saturday. And I don't know what else to say about that's just a heroic performance.
Look, and I'm going to say, I know we question. Look, I love Deggs. I'll start out by saying I love the man, Matt Deggs, and he drives me freaking crazy a lot of the time. But in the end of the day, dude, he's in 2 years, seasons in a row, he's put us in a position to be in a regional tournament. That being said, you have to appreciate the fact that Bab said it pregame today. He said, typically we have a team meeting before the season, but this year we had individual meetings. And in our individual meetings, every single one of those players said, push me, challenge me, dare me to be great. Every single one of those players said that. And look, as a baseball player, I would never want to play for Matt because I would be pushed. I would probably get aggravated. He would piss me off. And I would probably quit because I don't like the way he does things. But guess what? The way he does things gets results. And I think when you have somebody like Bab saying every single guy said, push me, make me better, piss me off, that tells you that you have a lot of guys who want to play for him. Now, we've lost a couple players along the way because maybe they weren't committed really, truly to that. But look at all the guys still here.
And by the way, Tony did the same thing.
Yeah.
Tony pushed guys to the brink and they weren't good enough and they fell by the wayside. So
100%.
It's all right.
So the fact that you've got guys buying into the system, you feel like they're playing for him. You feel like Blake wanted that for him. And look, Blake wanted it for him and his teammates and for Degg. He wanted it for everybody. It's truly the Wolf Pack. I know we've been talking about Pack, and I know it's cheesy and the Wolf Pack and all that, but look at the end result. We're in the conversation after we really get going into the tournament. We're not. Dude, 2 days ago we weren't in the conversation. And today we're potentially an at-large bid and probably, I'm going to say, hopefully, cross my fingers, probably an at-large bid from a couple days ago when you don't think you had a chance. I'm not going to lie. And I tweeted about this earlier. I'm not going to say I gave up on the team, but I stopped believing that we really had a shot after we lost that Coastal game. Those guys never stopped believing. And so that is a testament to the quality of people that we have on our team, the dedication they have as a team, as a wolf pack, I guess you could say. And look, credit to Deggs. He's not for everybody. His coaching style is definitely not for everybody. But the guys that he does get to buy into the system and that are still pulling for him and working for him and working for the entire team where they are this season, that's a testament to his coaching, the coaching staff. Again, I know they drive us freaking crazy, and they drove me crazy today. And if we make it in a regional, we're going to be bitching and moaning about some of the decisions they make.
Yes, they will.
But in the end, results matter. And the truth is, if we make it into a regional for a second year in a row, it's been a while since we've been in a regional 2 years in a row. So you got to give a shout out to the coaching staff, guys like Blake who believe in the system, and the entire team who sticks around. Because look, dude, there was some ass chewing this season, and it would have been easy for some of those guys to be like, I'm out, I'm good. But they stuck around. They're here. Hopefully it'll play dividends for them in the postseason.
And that's the guys we want in this program.
Correct.
We've always said that. And look, I mean, it's a tough business. It's like you don't want to see how the sausage is made. I get all that. But we all have our opinions, and that's what makes college baseball great, right? Speaking of that, you got to take your hat off to guys like JT Etheridge, who they've had their struggles. And at times we said, well, JT's he's a contact pitcher. Well, he wasn't this. I'm going to tell you something. If JT can pitch the way he pitched in this conference tournament going forward, that guy's like, he had dominant stuff the last couple of days. And the look, not to be too hyperbolic, but the look in his eye was, he's out. I'm getting this guy out. He had a different air about him. I wonder if it's because he knew nobody was going to come behind him and take his job. I wonder how all of the mental gymnastics played out in the tournament. I just thought that he was somebody different, and it was great to see. And, it's a shame that we didn't have Dylan Toy. And it's a shame that we didn't have, Jake Hammond, your Friday night starter to start the season. He's gone.
Tommy
Ray, who got
He's
run.
out.
He's been in the program 3 years. I mean, he could have given you 2 or 3 innings in this tournament. There's so many different things that happened during the course of the season. And Tommy Ray pitched against TCU last year in the regional. Baseball is a wild sport. There's a lot of games. There's a lot of thought and evolution that goes into it. It's been fun. And the whole Matt Deggs thing is a conundrum because he does so many things that you look at it and you go, why? What the hell are you thinking? But at the end of the day, what are we, 40 and 22, and we're in position to get an at-large. Go back to 2016 or 2017, 2018, 2019. We're left dead in the water, and we had some major league talent on that team. One of those guys is pitching for the A's. I don't know if you saw this, but Hoagie pitched like 5 or 6 squirrels.
Oh, dude.
Sick.
That was
I know
fun.
it was against the Astros, but those guys were in the program. You have Hayden Cantrell in the Milwaukee Brewers organization right now.
By the way, interesting stat. Hogan was pitching the Langoliers. So,
sick.
That's a crazy Cajun connection right there.
Isn't that wild?
Yeah.
Baseball is a great sport for those little things like that.
But I think you look at the Etheridge situation. Look, regular season guys can struggle, guys can be great, guys cannot. But you put guys in a pressure cooker. And I don't know about you, Josh. You play baseball, I play baseball. When you get in a situation where you have a chance to make a difference and you're in that situation where all right, this means something sometimes clicks there. And I think you saw that with a lot of our bullpen pitchers. What was funny is I was listening to who was the old Texas State coach? Harrington. Was it Ty Harrington?
Yep.
Was he doing a color this
Yes.
week? So he said it. He was like, man, Cajuns really relied on their bullpen to get them to the championship game. And you're thinking, our bullpen? We've been bitching about that all season. But it's true. You give guys an opportunity and you show them you have trust in them at the most critical moments. And that's when you kind of see the oil and water separate. And I think you saw that with a lot of our guys this weekend, including Etheridge, where they were given the opportunity and said, I trust you, go get it. And then went and get it. And so I think that, again, if we're lucky enough to pull that regional bid off, I think that does nothing but gives them confidence going into that.
I also think that when you've played baseball long enough and you're at that level, you know the difference between a developmental situation and, hey, they're relying on me today. And I think you saw that with, I'm going to say Blake, because there's a lot of times where they were trying to just ramp Blake up and he would kind of fall short and then they'd start him all over. I think with JT this weekend, nobody was coming for his job. He was out there to throw strikes and get people out. And I think he did it. And I think that you saw a different attitude by several of our pitchers. So I think that's part of it. Baseball is a mental game, but when you know that somebody's not coming for your job, you can go out there and just be yourself. And I think that played a part into it. By the way, you mentioned Ty Harrington. 5-0 against Texas State. A sweep and 2 tournament wins, and they were fighting for their lives.
We single-handedly, in 5 games, eliminated them from being in the regional tournament.
That's correct.
That says something, man. I mean,
And
they were there.
They're not a slouch. They're not a
They were
slouch. Now,
there.
I do agree that they're a completely different team outside of San Marcos. Totally. But they still got some talented guys. Zeke Wood was kind of cruising for a while. We ended up getting into their bullpen, and we scored a lot of runs. But they're fighting for their lives, and we beat them 12-6. I mean, that's pretty damn impressive from a team that's, first of all, not totally healthy, and we don't have a ton of pitching. Texas State was number 2 in the Sun Belt before they met us in Lafayette 3 weeks ago. That in and of itself that's a damn good accomplishment. I especially from a team that beat us 2 of 3 in San Marcos, hosted a regional last year. Now they lost some pitching, but a lot of their lineup is the same. They got a lot of good young talent, and they will next year too. So good on them, good on them. So many different angles to take on the tournament. What'd you think about Montgomery for the fourth year? They got one more year on the contract. I know you want to kind of talk about the location.
Look, I don't doubt that Montgomery during the day is a great place. I have heard from several different sources. So if I heard from one source, I would probably not take it for what it's worth. But several different sources. There was actually a shooting across the street from our team hotel last night. And apparently it's not a great area of town. Like, look, during the day, great. You can go do your touristy thing and everything, and it's cool. But at night, I think they had police sirens going off for 30 minutes straight. So, look, I'm not going to take that as a total judgment on the tournament location itself, but it is something you consider when you're looking at the fact that, I don't know, you want a location. It's hard. Right? If you're not going to have it at team sites, which I think we seriously should go back to, because again, you have the chance to have really great attendance when the host team is hosting, but it's hard because where are you going to have it on Memorial Day weekend where it's not going to cost you, where one, people want to go, right? So, okay, we have it at Pensacola. Well, how much are those hotel rooms going to cost on Memorial Day weekend? Oh, by the way, they have some other festival going on that nobody wants to be at that weekend in Pensacola. So we'll X that out.
They can do like what the New Orleans Bowl does. They partner with the hotel and they give them discounted rates if you have a ticket or if you're involved with the tournament. I mean, come on, this is easy.
But there's a lot more to the Pensacola thing that we're not going to talk about today that goes into that, right?
Sure.
But again, you go to, I get it. But again, you're trying to maneuver a way to be central to everyone and not offend everyone. And we want everybody to go. But the truth of the matter is, I mean, you look at the attendance today, if it was in New Orleans, you probably have let's say Zephyr Stadium, which is no longer Zephyr, but let's say it's at Zephyr. You would have had a sold out crowd today because you had Southern Miss and Louisiana 2 hours from each one. We're all there. But you're okay, Southern Miss had a 3-hour drive. We had a 6.5-hour drive. Our people aren't going to take that. Even my parents said it today. And I know they were joking, but they were like, hey, we might go to the game. Oh, wait, it's 6.5 hours. Like, I'm not spending a whole day driving there and a whole day driving back.
Not many families are going to take their Memorial Day weekend to go do that.
So, look, I prefer the host locations to be the schools because, one, it gives you an opportunity to see different areas of our conference, which I like. I don't mind going to Conway. I don't mind going to wherever. It's once every few years, but again, you have a chance to have crowds at the tournament. Now, the tournament game today was an okay crowd. I don't know how many were truly there, and it sounded loud on TV, but I don't know, man. I just prefer having it at a host site for the schools, and maybe even, I mean, just get creative with it. I don't know if you're the top seed, maybe you get to, I don't know. I know that's a lot to put together in a 1 week time span, but it just seems like a little bit is lost when you have it. Look, if you're the SEC and you have all this money and you're always on national television, you always have promotion and you have fans across the country, you could have it in Hoover, Alabama, because again, you're being paid and you're being put on TV for the casual fan to say, oh, I saw that. They're like the Braves, right? Everybody's a Braves fan in Louisiana, but it's in Atlanta. Because they were on TV. So they're on TV and people are going to go watch. I don't know you're getting that with us because you have to actually go look for us to see our games. So how many people are looking for us on ESPN Plus and then saying, oh, I'm going to go travel to Montgomery, Alabama, of all places, to watch the game? I don't know. I get what the league is trying to do, but I still prefer having it at school sites just because you have a better chance of having attendance there. Even if the host team doesn't make it all the way through, how much worse can it be than Montgomery this week? Montgomery wasn't great attendance-wise.
It looked dead.
It was dead because, again, we're not the SEC. I mean, I would love us to be at that point in the future where a casual fan from the surrounding 4 states would go just to go. But we're not constantly on TV. We're not constantly getting promoted. We're not giving $60 million in revenue from media rights. So we can't do all of that. I don't know. I think realistically, if you want to have better attendance, you have it at host schools.
I agree 100%. Shout out to the Southern Miss fan base that made the trek. Shout out to the Troy fan base, who they had a pretty nice contingent. Cajuns always travel well. I think because the girls were in Seattle this weekend, it hurt our attendance in Montgomery. That is the only downside of having the girls in the Super while we're playing in a Sun Belt Conference tournament. So everybody knows, and the announcers actually alluded to this. Cajuns always travel, no matter where we go. I think that crowd that we typically bring was
not according to TSAP fans that have been in my mention since 6 o'clock this morning.
Well, they can't quit us because they're obsessed with us, and it's
oh
absolutely
no, but
hilarious.
I'm obsessed. I'm obsessed with them, but they're. Yeah.
No, but that dovetails into my last comment. So, based on the numbers, based on everything you've seen, I know there've been some stolen bids and whatnot. Do you think we make the cut? Do you think we get sent to Baton Rouge?
Do I think we make the cut? I never want to, like I said earlier, man, I never want to leave it in the hands of people making those decisions because it never seems to go our way. I have no confidence that Southern Miss is going to host or that we're going to make it in. I have no confidence in that. Looking at Oklahoma, and I'm pulling up their schedule right now. Let's back it up to see what, because according to Aaron Fitt at D1Baseball.com, that's really who it's between. It's between us and Oklahoma. Oklahoma went 1-2 in their conference tournament. They beat Oklahoma State. They lost to Texas State, Texas Tech, and Oklahoma State. Okay, so they went 1-2. They lost 2 out of 3 to Oklahoma State for their final conference series. They lost to they canceled the UT Arlington series, probably because it was an RBI hit.
Of course they did.
Yeah. They swept Gonzaga, real impressive there. And then they lost 2 out of 3 to West Virginia. So if you're, again, they have a little bit higher RPI, but you look at the most recent, schedule and you're like, who's more impressive? The team that beat, a top 10 team twice. And oh, by the way, they also beat a sure bet to be in the regional 5 times in a row to get there. And I think we're 11-5 in our last 16. That's a little bit more impressive. But again, you never want to leave it to those guys to make that decision because what are they thinking about? This.
That's all right.
And eyes on TV.
Yes.
So who's the better brand?
Now,
they see brands.
Deserving wise, they're sub 500 in their own conference.
But when does that matter? Like, I wouldn't be shocked if Mississippi State they didn't even make their conference tournament. I know I'm being facetious, but it's the truth. Like, you look at, hopefully they're not taking the same stance as softball did because there were just ridiculous decisions made for teams that didn't even finish close to 500 in their own conference, and then they're making and hosting, tournament games. So, look, I'm not going to say I'm confident. I'm going to say I'm hopeful. I'm leaning probably 60-40 that we make it in. Do we make it to Baton Rouge? Look, I think, is Arkansas projected to host? I think Arkansas is projected to host as well.
Yep.
So, look, I know Nichols is probably going to be a 4. Tulane is definitely going to be a 4. They're not going to both be in Baton Rouge. And look, I know Tulane took a bit away from the bubble teams, but I'm thinking Tulane as a 4 seed, Nichols as a 4 seed, they need a 3 in Baton Rouge.
Yeah, if we get an at-large, it'll be a 3, I think.
Yeah, and where are they going to put us? I think it's going to be Baton Rouge.
And they never send us west. That's the weirdest thing.
So Nick Deal's telling me I got to commit. Look, if I got to commit today, I'm committing that we're making it in and that we're going to be a 3 seed in Baton Rouge. I'm also committing that if we face LSU in game 2, if we make it through the first game and we make it to game 2, I think we win.
Well, we have their kryptonite, David Christie. On my side, I think that OU's a brand and it's all about the money. And the further we get along in this collegiate athletics, non-amateur sports anymore thing, the more the money matters. And in the old days, I think the Cajuns had a great chance to get in, but I don't know. I remember when they used to have, I think it was Warren Nolan that had the last 10. They would, what was your record in the last 10? Our record in our last 10 is something like 7-3 and several wins against top 10 opponents. And if that's part of the formula, there's no way we don't get in with everything that we have.
But again,
we had 22 wins, 22 aggregate wins in the number 5 RPI conference in America. And I want to say the Big 12 was 3. I think they ended up 3. They were 4 for a while, but I think they ended up 3. If you look at what Oklahoma did in conference, it's not what we did. We are way better.
Historically, look, again, when you're talking about last 10, last 15, that is what the committee takes into account. But even deeper into that, you want to look at not only what we did in the last 10, but again, RPI counts, right? RPI matters, strength of schedule matters. Q1, Q2, I mean, we're really strong there.
We're 7-9 in Q1, which
And
I think is good.
And we have 22 conference wins. Right? You got to think you have you're going against I don't know, man. I feel like they're going to make the right decision tomorrow, but I'm not, obviously I can't guarantee that because you're leaving it to human beings who have a bias to make that decision. And the bias ain't towards us, bro. The bias is towards any excuse for us not to be in there.
Well, it's towards the money.
However, I pose this question. Is the Sun Belt Conference this year better than it was last? We got 4 bids last year. Are we better? To me, the answer is yes. So if you're telling me the SBC of last year is not better than the SBC of this year, I mean, we got 4 bids last year and we weren't as good as we were this year. We're a lot stronger. I think we get 4 in. That's my hopeful opinion.
That's an interesting question. I think Coastal is better than our best team. Our best team last year was Georgia Southern.
Yep, 100%.
I think Coastal they have a better resume and they've beaten more top 10 teams. Obviously, the 2 wins against Campbell, who I think might end up hosting. They should host. I mean, they deserve it. They're a great team. I think that this Coastal team is better. I also think that Southern Miss is better than Coastal was last year at this point. So I don't know. I think you can make a strong case that this is a better Sun Belt Conference. Also, this Sun Belt Conference has 10 teams inside the top 100, which I think we had 6 or 7 at the end of the season after the conference tournament last year. So if you want to talk about the league as a whole, I think that you can make a strong case. At the same time, you still got 4 bids last year and 2 host sites.
Correct.
Well, no, 1 host site and one number 2 seed that should have been a host site.
Exactly.
So that's a toss-up. That's a good question to ask. I'm gonna err on the side of I think that we didn't do just quite enough. I think that I think they're gonna look at the sweep of JMU. I think they're gonna look at a few different things. You can't lose the Tech in that midweek late. You did a lot of things in the tournament that looks really nice on the resume. At the same time, do they penalize us for beating Coastal without their 1 and 2 Morrison and the other guy that I can never remember his name? Do they penalize us for the way that we lost? I wonder how all that shakes out,
But I don't think, again, I think you're getting granular when the committee is not getting granular.
They will. But I think they will because of how close it is.
I don't know, man. I don't think they get that granular. Look, I'm gonna be really disappointed if we don't make it in. But I'm not blaming anybody but ourselves because I think we were 1 win away somewhere along the line. We were 1 catch from Coastal away. We were 1 pitch, from USM away from being a lock. So we can't, if we don't make it, we don't have anybody to blame but ourselves. But you look at if it's between us and Oklahoma, what do they have that we don't? They're in a different conference that has a bigger name recognition.
Money.
Literally the only differentiator between us other than wins, losses, RPI. We'll see. I mean, tomorrow's going to be interesting. I'm going to be tuned in, nervous as hell. I don't know if we want to live stream that because we may have explicit warnings on that podcast if we do that.
So last year we did the live selection show broadcast. We may do it again if we can. If not, fend for yourselves. But Oklahoma has a ton of money. Money talks. Anyway, it was a hell of a season if we don't make it. And if we end up getting shut out, we'll come back and do a recap podcast and finish everything off. It's been a great time. Baseball, softball. Shout out to the girls who ended their season in Seattle, Washington. What a great performance. What a great effort in this year. One of my favorite, if not my favorite, all-time softball teams. Carly Heath and the gang. I mean, that was a whole lot of fun. So shout out to the girls. Shout out to the men, man. I mean, they gave it everything they had. There's nothing you can say about this Cajun team that they didn't leave it all out on the field. And that's who we are as people. And I love the way they represented us. So proud of those boys. Proud of Blake, proud of everybody. I mean, what an absolute crazy performance in this tournament. So shout out for me and Nick. We appreciate you all joining us. We'll be back either tomorrow or next week to wrap everything up or be elated that we made it into the NCAA tournament.
Hopefully tomorrow after we get selected and go to wherever. We'll be here
Would be
tomorrow.
ideal. Jerry wasn't able. He had daddy duties. Daddy will be back next week for the post game or for the post tournament or season thing.
Whatever.
Anyway, thank you all of our Southern Miss guests for joining. It's been great. It's been fun. What a fun season and many, many more ahead of us. Glad you guys are in the belt. It's made it so much more fun, exponentially more exciting. Please subscribe, rate, review the podcast. It helps a lot more than you guys realize. We will see you soon. Until then, may the selection gods have mercy on our soul. Go Cajuns.